Okay, this is my Royal Rumble review. I've just finished watching it, and thought about things for a bit, and come to my ratings of things. First of all, I'll say I like this pay-per-view a lot, not as much as I thought I would, but it was still pretty good pay-per-view. I haven't seen Undeniable, so I can't give you a accurate rating of how it stacks up compared to that. But yes, first match we had was Ric Flair versus Montel Vontavious Porter, and Ric Flair did a little bit of a speech at the start, which was nice. Anyway, the MVP came out and interrupted him, which was all right. The crowd was hot for this, not for the match, but for Ric Flair and MVP coming out. They were pretty hot for the whole event, actually. Anyway, this was a pretty good match. There were a few botches, so it loses a bit of its impact, but it still was a pretty good match and had me going a couple times. I'll give it 2.5 stars. Next match we had was John Bradshaw Layfield versus Chris Jericho. This match really, the psychology and how they wrestled the match really made sense in terms of the story they were telling, because you had this feud, and Chris Jericho just wanted to kill JBL because of what he'd done to him and how he'd taunted him on TV and offended or gotten his family involved and blah blah blah. Really, and the way it was wrestled was really the way Samoa Joe versus Christian Cage should be wrestled at Bound for Glory, which was you had Chris Jericho just taking down JBL and just beating the crap out of him. Not really. There was no technical wrestling or anything like that, and there was no playing to the crowd. It was just focused completely on JBL, which isn't what you saw in Samoa Joe and Christian Cage, which really infuriates me when people rate it 4 stars, because it just didn't make sense, because you had Joe running around like it was fun and he was playing to the crowd, and it confused me. Because, he really wanted to get his hands on him, and then when he did, he just sort of did nothing with it. Whereas Chris Jericho acted like a person who really wanted to get their hands on him, and Samoa Joe's supposed to be angry, and Chris Jericho was furious, and so he really beat the crap out of him. But the match itself was pretty good. I was a little bit disappointed with the ending, but I do understand it, because Chris Jericho just wanted to hurt JBL, so he hit him with the chair. But it was a bit annoying because it was disqualification. But you had Chris Jericho string JBL up from the cables, camera cables, and hoist him up, and then JBL kept his heat by celebrating the victory, because even though it was by DQ, which was what he should have done. Next match we had was Edge versus Rey Mysterio. I was a bit disappointed. JBL versus Chris Jericho is 3.5 stars. Edge versus Rey Mysterio. This match was a bit disappointing. I expected a bit more of the two. There were a lot of botches by Rey Mysterio. Well over 5, and they were big ones, and they were noticeable ones. But Edge was really on form. Like, there was this bit where Edge threw Rey Mysterio over his head, and Rey landed in the turnbuckle, and Edge ran up and just kicked the back of his left leg, so he fell out, and that was a pretty cool spot. But yeah, it was a pretty good match, but it really was hurt by all the botches. And the finish, I'm still undecided if I liked it or not. I'm sort of, I knew that was going to happen, I guess. So I'm not really disappointed. But I was, I am disappointed with the finish. But at least it was somewhat creative, and it somewhat furthered the story arc with Edge and Vicky Guerrero, where Vicky Guerrero jumped in the way, got hit in her injured neck with the 619. So yeah, it sort of became full circle and all that, and proved that, you know, from Vicky's point of view, that she loved Edge, I guess. Randy Orton defeated Jeff Hardy for to retain the WWE Championship. I was not happy with this result. I knew it was going to happen as well, but I was you know, hoping that, you know, maybe Jeff would, you know, get the win. And I mean, they built it up for so long, so if when Jeff Hardy did win it, it would just, the crowd would just erupt, because I mean, he's really been over enough to win the title since maybe 2002, around the time of the Undertaker with the ladder match. But yeah, it was a pretty good match, but it didn't really live up to the hype that they were giving it. So it's sort of disappointing in that respect. And there weren't very many botches, and there was a pretty nice baseball slide to Randy Orton, and hit Jeff Hardy pretty hard. And yeah, and the finish was pretty sudden and abrupt. It's funny because Randy Orton, every title defense he's had is, you know, he's sort of done by, you know, sort of sneak victory. Done really sort of really hadn't pinned anybody to defend the title, or anything like that. He was sort of a weak champion. Same with Edge, but you know, Edge, that's part of his character. Randy Orton, you know, he's claiming to be the best, and he just can't, you know, pin anyone. And then all of a sudden Jeff Hardy comes along, and he just beats him like in the blink of an eye. So that was sort of disappointing, but I'll still give the match 4 stars. And Edge vs Rey Mysterio is 3 3/4. It loses 1/4 of a star because of lots of botches. And then we had the Royal Rumble match. There were some things I didn't understand with this, because we had for the qualifying, you had Chuck Palumbo in it, and he was defeated by Jamie Noble, and that was a big part of the Jamie Noble versus Chuck Palumbo storyline. And you know, Jamie Noble defeated him for the spot, and then Chuck Palumbo was in it anyway and eliminated him. So that sort of irritated me. What else? And there was also when Triple H qualified, he defeated Mark Henry and Snitsky, who were also in the match, which irritates me. And Chavo Guerrero was defeated by CM Punk to get into the Royal Rumble match. And then when CM Punk was eliminated, it wasn't like anything big. It was just he was just sort of pulled over the rope. There was nothing really. There wasn't a really big finish or anything. What else did I not like about this? Oh, Santino Marella came out to a big pop. CM Punk came out to a big pop, one of the biggest of the night. I was hoping he'd win. I was hoping Matt Hardy would come back. I knew the Big Show wasn't going to come back. And a friend said, "Oh, Undertaker's going to win." And I said, "No, Undertaker's not going to win. Triple H is going to win." And I was pretty sure that Triple H was going to win when Undertaker came out at number 1. And it's like, oh, well, who's going to come out at number 2? And I thought, oh, it'd be pretty funny if, or, you know, sort of come full circle if, from last year's Royal Rumble, if Shawn Michaels came out at number 2 and Shawn Michaels came out at number 2. But, and then Triple H came out at number 29, and so it left me wondering, who's number 30 going to be? That's going to have to be a bit of a surprise to, you know, sort of live up to number 29 being Triple H. And it was funny because when Triple H came in, the whole time he came in, the camera was non-stop on him. Whenever anybody else came in, the camera was on them for a bit, and so, you know, went off of them. And then number 30, as we know, was John Cena, and thank Christ, because I don't want to see Triple H win the Rumble. I just don't. I don't mind if it's Cena, because I like Cena more than I like Triple H. So, yeah, it was a 4-star Royal Rumble. It's hard to rate the Royal Rumble, but I'll give it 4 stars, because there were those things which irritated me, like just CM Punk getting dragged over the top rope by Chavo, and Hornswoggle. He was in the thing, and then he wasn't in it, and I don't know what the deal was there. And Finlay wasn't in it, but he came out and saved Hornswoggle. It was sort of confusing, and there wasn't really there wasn't an emphasis on places in the Royal Rumble. So yeah, like they didn't do the thing for people pulling their thing out and having a look at what number they got. So there was no emphasis on the placement, and there was also a little surprise when it came to it as well. I mean, there were surprises, but there wasn't as much. Anyway, I give it 8.5 5.